That uneasy silence on India's western frontier, well, it's just been shattered. For years, a very fragile ceasefire has kept the line of control, relatively calm. But in a sudden, really alarming spike in activity, that calm is gone, and it's starting to look like a coordinated effort to test India's entire security grid.
Think about this. In just 24 hours, 3 completely separate security events all unfolded. We're talking a direct ceasefire violation by Pakistani forces, a major infiltration attempt that was stopped by the Indian army, and then, deep inside the country, a huge pan-India terror plot was busted. So the question is, are these just isolated incidents? Or are we actually seeing the opening moves in a much larger, much more dangerous game?
When you actually lay these events out on a timeline, a really disturbing pattern starts to take shape. It all kicked off with those first shots fired on the line of control. That's a direct challenge to a peace that has held for years, and it was the first domino to fall in a very rapid series of hostile acts.
So right here in the rugged Nagam sector of North Kashmir, Pakistani forces just opened up with unprovoked small arms fire against Indian positions. This is a massive violation of the 2021 ceasefire agreement. Now, the Indian Army's response was, as they put it, calibrated and defensive. Proportional but strong enough to silence the guns and send a very clear message. But look, this firing wasn't random. It's a classic military tactic. You use it to pin down troops, test their response times, and most importantly, you provide covering fire for terrorists who are just waiting for a chance to sneak across the border in all the chaos.
Okay, so while those guns were blazing up north, a much deadlier game was playing out hundreds of kilometers away in Rajouri's Sundarbani sector. Alert Indian troops spotted some suspicious movement, and when they challenged a group of heavily armed terrorists, a fierce firefight broke out. The infiltrators ran, but what they left behind, well, that's the smoking gun. AK-47s, a ton of ammunition, and rucksacks just stuffed with enough rations to last for weeks. These weren't your typical hit-and-run attackers. No, these were long-haul terrorists, sent to establish a hidden base and launch major attacks from inside the Jammu region.
And the threat wasn't just on the border. At the exact same time, our intelligence agencies were dismantling a ticking time bomb right inside our cities. A major Lashkar-e-Taiba plot was busted, and 8 operatives were arrested in this huge coordinated sweep that stretched all the way from Delhi through West Bengal and down to Tamil Nadu. I mean, this just reveals a chilling pan-India ambition way beyond the usual conflict zones.
So we've seen the attacks on the border, in the forests, and in the cities. And individually, yeah, these are all very serious security breaches. But the real story is how they all connect. Stay with me, because the strategy we're about to reveal is truly shocking. Let's get back to it and connect the dots. You have to understand, these are not separate events. They're textbook examples of a coordinated hybrid warfare strategy. The whole goal is to stretch India's security forces so thin, create chaos on multiple fronts all at once, and basically bleed the nation with 1,000 tiny cuts. It makes it incredibly difficult to mount a single, coherent defense. So what exactly is hybrid warfare? Well, it's a strategy that mixes all different types of conflict. You've got the conventional stuff, like shooting at the border. Then there's irregular warfare, like terrorism. And you can even throw in cyber attacks or massive propaganda campaigns. The entire point is to overwhelm a country's ability to respond by creating confusion and instability. It blurs the lines between war and peace, and it makes it really hard to even identify who the real attacker is. And this is how all those pieces fit together. The firing in Nagam, that wasn't just a skirmish. It was a tactical probe and a diversion. The Sundarbani infiltration attempt, that wasn't just a gunfight. It was an attempt to plant long-term assets deep inside Indian territory. And that Delhi plot, well, that was meant to be the catastrophic payoff. See, each action has a very specific purpose, and they're all building towards one single sinister objective: national destabilization. Now, that terror plot in Delhi also exposed another really alarming development in this whole playbook. The terror network wasn't just using the heavily monitored western border anymore. They've activated a new front, the India-Bangladesh border, and that has created a dangerous new eastern route for infiltration. And their method is systematic. First, handlers recruit and radicalize people. Then, they sneak them across that porous border into West Bengal. From there, the operatives are sent out to sleeper cells all across the country where they just blend in with the local population and wait for instructions. This creates a huge strategic advantage for Pakistan: plausible deniability.
By routing terrorists through a third country, they can publicly deny any involvement, which makes India's diplomatic and military response so much more complicated.
So the big question is, how is India responding to this evolving multi-front threat? Well, the answer isn't a simple reactive defense. It's actually a multi-layered preemptive strategy. It's designed to neutralize these threats before they can even fully materialize, shifting from a defensive posture to what's being called offensive defense.
And to really get the response, you have to first grasp how much the threat itself has changed. I mean, in the past, the main challenge was direct infiltration in Kashmir. But now the challenge has evolved into these complex hybrid tactics, pan-India terror networks, and new technologies like drones being used to drop weapons and drugs. The battlefield is no longer just the border. It's everywhere.
So the counter strategy has to be just as multi-layered. Militarily, this doctrine of offensive defense basically means any retaliation for aggression will be swift, it'll be severe, and it'll happen at a time and place of India's choosing. On the intelligence front, the focus is all on preemption, with seamless coordination between national agencies like the NIA and state police forces to dismantle these networks before they can act. Technologically, India is in an arms race, deploying sophisticated anti-drone systems and high-tech surveillance grids. And crucially, on the diplomatic front, India is working closely with neighbors like Bangladesh to share intelligence and shut down these new terror routes right at the source.
But look, this fight isn't just for the soldiers and the spies. In this new era of warfare, where the lines are so blurred and the battlefield stretches into our cities and into our daily lives, national security has fundamentally become a shared responsibility. It's on all of us. And this brings us to the final, crucial question we all have to think about. When the enemy can be anywhere, using tactics that blend the physical and the digital, where is the most important front line now? Is it still on those snowy peaks of the border? Or is it now in the vigilance of ordinary citizens in a crowded marketplace? Or maybe in the critical thinking we apply to the information we see online? The answer is, well, it's unsettling, and it's something we all really need to think about.
This threat is real, and it is constantly evolving. To stay informed on these critical developments as they happen, do consider subscribing to the channel and turning on notifications. We're going to keep tracking this story as it develops, for sure. For more in-depth analysis on this topic, go ahead and watch the video that's now appearing on your screen. Until next time, stay alert and stay informed.